Hello, marketing researchers. It's Dr. G. Hey, today we're going to do this quick little video on data and sampling errors. I thought I would put this together for you for your insight as you start to finalize your sampling method and also your survey. So, as you recall, a sample is any subset of a population. So its size can be large and small. And remember that the larger the sample size, the more computing power you're going to have in your statistics program. And then, yet the sample has to be large enough to be meaningful and statistically sound. So one of the problems that occurs when we're dealing with data and surveys is that there's a number of errors that can be made, and I have just a list of them here for you. And we are going to go through these because these things you need to keep in mind. So the first one is sampling error. And what this is the difference between the results obtained from the sample and the results that would have been obtained if you were to gather the information from every member. So remember, the error is decreased by increasing the sample size, and it can be estimated assuming probability sample. So it's usually less troublesome than other types of errors. So remember when we looked at the confidence interval, we want to make sure that we fall somewhere within that range of confidence. So it's something to keep in mind, but also something that we try to control with statistics. Now, the non-sampling errors are those things that arise in research that are not due to the way you pull your sample. And so this could be errors in the way you design your questions, such as interpreting the questions. It could also be, replies or arithmetic analyzing or coding errors or reporting errors. And non-sampling errors cannot be accounted for statistics. It's all of those other things that could go wrong. So here's an example of non-sampling error. So you have the non-observation errors. So those are all the people you didn't sample, and errors from the population. So the non-observation could be non-coverage errors. So maybe you didn't get enough people in a certain category, or non-response errors, meaning you sent out your sample and in the people who did not respond. So, and this could also be, maybe they only responded to a portion of your questions. An observation error is that it has to do with response errors. And what I mean by that is, maybe you noticed something was awry when you started looking at your data. Like maybe somebody answered Mickey Mouse to everything on a open-end question, or you see patterns in the data where somebody's just clicking something. Now, office errors are with coding. So these are things that, happen through manual error. So let's look at the non-coverage errors, the failure to include some units, sections, or parts of your defined segment. So you can reduce this by, that sampling frame that you create in the beginning, and you may have to resend to those that are not actually, you're not covered well. Now, the response error is the failure to obtain information from some elements of the population. So it's a potential problem for those who do not respond are systemically different in some important ways from those who don't respond. So, example, a university wants to access the success of its graduates. We do surveys and, what types of jobs have you had after graduation? And graduates are less likely to return their survey. So which ones? Are people who are happy not likely to return the surveys, or people unhappy? Maybe a certain age range, maybe a certain demographic group. So this is where the information of some portion just isn't there. Now, you've got the non-response errors. These are people who do not want to take a study. There's just personal reasons they don't want to do it. If you're doing a telephone study, um, many people will be on the do not call list. Many people don't want you to bug you. They think you're spam. Not at homes are sampling errors that arise because you try to call, they don't answer. You send a piece of mail, maybe they've changed addresses. So if you're thinking of a non-response error in terms of a telephone survey, generally 3 or 4 callbacks and then they're out. All right, so let's look at response error. So response error occurs when an individual provides a response to an item, but the reason is inaccurate for some reason. So some of the reasons here is that maybe, we went through that whole exercise of rephrasing bad questions. Bad questions, or they don't understand. They don't know the answer, and maybe you don't put in do not know or prefer not to answer. They're not willing to provide the true answer to the question. So maybe they're providing what you want to hear, or maybe they're just, mad at you and going to provide what you think might be the opposite. Is the wording of the question or the situation in which the asked is likely biased? Remember the loaded and leading questions where we accidentally slip in our own stuff, our own bias? This could also, sort of tick people off and make them go. Now, the office error is just those things that happen. Maybe you're editing the information, you're working in your Excel spreadsheet, you code it wrong, maybe you coded the answers wrong. You need to really make sure that everything is buttoned up before you press go. So that is easy to code. But we are human beings. This happens all of the time when you're manipulating data. So oftentimes in an academic study, what we will do, we'll have 2 different people manipulate the data and make sure that they are the same. So just have good proper controls. Make sure you take your time. Always make sure you save a raw data file when you're analyzing your data. So we are human, stuff will happen. So can you explain to me the various types of sample errors? What do you need to look out for? What examples can you think of when you're looking at your own surveys? And do you have a plan to mitigate this for your research study? I know your questions are going to be great because we've already gone through that. You got any comments? Hit me up in Canvas through email. If you want to hear more from the marketing doctor, I have lots of different videos on my channel. Subscribe. And I want you to take this seriously. Have a great day. And if you're all just out there scratching your head wondering where to go, no, this is hard stuff and I'm here to help. Thanks everybody. Have a great day.